Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I just want to give an extremely brief conversation, man. Pardon me, man. I just got through working out, man, trying to cool out, so excuse the sauna suit. But first, a book recommendation. This right here is called The Explanation of the 6 Fundamental Principles. And this one is explained by Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan, right? Beautiful book. It also has the Arabic in it, Arabic and English. Let me get a close up on that. So it has the Arabic and English in it. Parts in the back, if you want to take down notes, or put pages and stuff like that have importance. I usually do it in the front, but they do have that in the back. But again, 6 fundamental principles of Islam. Beautiful book. I might even read it, man, and do a little lesson on it. It's real short. I got an ijaza in this. There's other explanations. I just liked it, this one. Sheikh Fawzan's a little better, plus with the Arabic in them. But there's other explanations. So what I want to touch on is the nullifiers of Islam, right? Which there's more than just the 10 that you usually find in books. And this one just lists the 10 with a little bit of explanation, but there's other books called the explanation of the 10 nullifiers. So they put more dalil and proof for the nullifiers. But I want to speak on something, man. I'm going to be honest. In anything that I do, I'm always speaking to myself first in any conversation that I have. So what we starting to find is, and this, when I say we, this be other individuals that I speak with that may be in teaching positions, or maybe imams, or people who want to start a masjid, or not necessarily an imam but a khatib that give khutbahs, and other students of knowledge. So what we starting to see is we be in a group, and sometimes we ask each other questions. Sometimes it's for a class and we do the research, and then we ask other people who may have been Muslim for at least 5 years the same question, just to see what type of answers they come up with. So what we finding is, and people really got problems with parts of Islam, and this is what birthed bid'ah and deviations. People having issues and problems with certain aspects of the deen, and it leads to watering the deen down. So I'm gonna give a perfect example, right, to show you what I mean before I touch the 10 nullifiers. So I was doing a class, right, and stock for lot, I don't refer to it as class, a dars, just talking to a small group about certain things about Islam, bringing about an awareness that they have to be careful where they take their deen from. So during this lesson, and you can see the rebellion that comes within the urban community sometimes. Pardon me for one moment. Okay, had to pray through it. So anyway, we can see some of the rebellion that we have in the urban Islamic community that we may not be aware of because it's the norm. right? So some of the measures that we take when we told something that goes against what we've originally been told, if we done that in the beginning, we wouldn't be in the position that we in. Like, you could tell somebody something, they doing something, then you tell them something, and they'll do weeks of research, right? But when they was originally told something, they didn't do the weeks of research, and then they do the weeks of research to find out what they've been doing is wrong. But sometimes they do the research because of the person who told them, and they may have trusted the person who originally told them something. But we should do that all the time. So due to this, I wanted to point out to them some of the origins and what original Islam looked like in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah. And this is going to bring my point where people have issues with certain things that come from the deen. So in the Sunnah of Abu Dawood, I didn't get the book out, but basically, well, not basically, I'm pointing out to them with the book, reading the hadith, in this whole section. So some people familiar with it. Sahih Bukhari has portions of it, because sometimes they take a long hadith and break it down and put it in different rulings. So the full version is in Abu Dawood. So basically, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying, and while he was praying, he took his shoes off. So that let you know, one, he was praying in his shoes. So he took his shoes off. When he took his shoes off, everybody that was praying behind him, they also took their shoes off. No question asked. Just automatically did what the Rasul was doing. So the Rasul finished his prayer, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he finished, he turned and seen everybody had their shoes off. Now, what made this somewhat problematic? Because he addressed them for having their shoes off. He said, why did y'all take y'all shoes off during the prayer? So when you look at the usul, this should start to lead you to say the origins, the original thing is to pray with your shoes on. So as they say, we took our shoes off during the prayer because you took your shoes off. Man, this also shows how much they was into following Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No questions asked. They just automatically did what he did. So the Rasul told them, I took my shoes off because during the prayer, the angel Jibreel informed me that I had some filth, some feces, not just your regular little dirt or your dust, some feces on my shoes. So I took them off during the prayer. So he gave them the fiqh behind why he took his shoes off. Then he also informed them, when you come to the masjid, look at your shoes, check your shoes, right? If you have some feces, some filth on your shoes, then clean it off and pray in your shoes. Authentic hadith. Now, portions of the hadith is in Bukhari, Muslim, where it just say he took his shoes off during the prayer, and they use this as a dalil, the permissibility to pray with the shoes off, because it didn't invalidate the prayer. But we have it in reverse. We say it's permissible to pray in shoes, and the usul is to pray without shoes. When it's in reverse, the usul is to pray in shoes, and it's permissible to pray without them. Now you have to go and look, where was the command to? If anybody who want to argue or debate it, go find the original command to pray with the shoes off. Now during these type of conversations, which is funny to me because there was a man named Ahmed Didat, and he came with a form of where he used to debate Christians and say, you know, this and that. So, you know, a lot of Muslims in this area liked what Ahmed Didat was doing, and some of the people who followed up behind him at that time and was around at that time, like Yeshua Evans, they used to use a lot of the Bible to prove Islam. And one of the things they used to say, there's a verse in the Old Testament where it says, take your shoes off when you approach a place of worship. Now, the Rasul also in the following hadiths, he informed the other people, the Jews, those other people that's in close vicinity of us in religion, they pray with their shoes off. So to be the opposite of the disbelievers, we're going to pray with our shoes on. So there's more and more fiqh behind it. But a lot of people try to use that Bible verse to say that we suppose that you know, that came from Islam. You know what I'm saying? To prove praying with your shoes off by using the Bible, not knowing in authentic hadiths, even if they pay attention to the hadith in Bukhari, the Rasul started off praying in his shoes, and even asked, why y'all take y'all shoes off? So my point is, not telling people go to the masjid and pray with your shoes off, because you're going to hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, we got this carpet, your shoes might have dust on them, might have a little dirt on them, and they get dirt on the carpet. The Rasul and them prayed in dirt. And see, before they go too far and say getting all this dust on the carpet, this, that, and the third, this is individuals that's forgetting about tayammum. When there's no water around, you make wudu with what? Dirt, dust. You touch that dirt, that earth, your hands in your face. So, you know what I'm saying? But they come up with this thing, oh, well, you know, that was because the Rasul said, why pray with your shoes on? And it's not what other people saying, but I'm not saying go and pray with your shoes on. The point is this: when you show somebody with the lil from authentic hadiths, and to show when people who still trying to use the Bible to prove why we take our shoes off when we go to the masjid, you really contradicting the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and what he did and what his companions did. Why is that? Because they prayed with their shoes on. And the Rasul said if you go in the masjids, which true, yeah, they was praying on dirt. You know what I'm saying? But the Rasul gave the reasoning behind it. They prayed with their shoes off also, but we just talking about the usul. But when you show people this, and this shows you the difference, you know what they automatically did? Rejected it. And have come back. Oh, when you go in your house, oh, what is, oh, what that? You rejecting the sunnah. The first thing, now this real talk. I first heard about it where some people was, because I didn't have all the books of hadith, and I heard some individuals who was in Yemen around the time of Sheikh Mukbil, rahimahullah, and they was talking about how if you went in his masjid and tried to take his shoes off, like they forced you to pray in his shoes. They wouldn't let you pray in his masjid with your shoes off. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, whoa, like, you know, so in my head, because the way I was, I'm like, man, okay, because I, you know, studied a little bit, took some classes, I didn't automatically reject it. And these was people of knowledge that was having this discussion. So I was like, where did they get that from? Where did the dalil come from? So I was able to go through the apps and find it in the Sunan of Abu Dawud. And then when I eventually, due to the classes I was taking, and I had to get the 6 mother books of hadith, I read it for myself and the explanations that come with it. But people automatically reject it because of what they used to seeing and things that's being told. Not saying you should do it. Now, and then I explained to them when they wanted to go through different rigmaroles, this isn't to debate. Y'all proving my point. when you show something that comes from the origins and the tradition, what we call nowadays the traditional version of Islam, y'all argue it. So then when I said I'm gonna give y'all a point, I just pointed out and read that hadith to them and a couple of with them. They argued it. Now, and then I informed them, me, I pray in my shoes more than I pray with my shoes off. I do have shoes in the house, flip-flops and different things that never been outside, and they for that purposes. But this is why I'm speaking on this and saying the reason why people argued it, because they have a problem with it. But this is just one thing I'm pointing out. There's a lot of things that come with the deen, and when you give people the origins and the traditions of it, because it has been lost and been replaced with bid'ah and culture and other things that's permissible. So it's still valid because it's permissible, but they changed the ruling. This is what should be done, and the original is permissible, which is backwards. But it's because they have a problem with it. So when you come to your nullifiers of Islam, what nullifies your Shahada, right? Number 4 nullifier of Islam is to believe that the Prophet's guidance, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is not complete or perfect, or that other people's rulings and judgment is better than his. Those who prefer the rule of false gods or deities are blatant. So sometimes we don't realize we're putting ourselves in a position where we nullifying our Islam because we rejecting what the Rasul told us to do. Because we seeing so much other things and we've never studied, or we never went and looked to see what we being told, where did it come from. We don't go look. But when somebody brings us something from the Quran and Sunnah, authentic hadith, we reject it, to where we arguing about the hadiths. Oh, what I feel this way about hadiths, they not real. Just like sometimes when I talk about hadiths, it be people who come in my comments and say stuff like, we not going to be asked about hadiths. We only going to be asked about how we followed the Quran. It be people from overseas. We not going to be asked about did we follow hadiths. Following hadiths is following the Quran, though. You see what I'm saying? But I don't get mad at them because I understand. Number 5, those who hate anything that the Rasul, the Prophet of Muhammad, came with, and also disbelievers, even if they act upon them. So it might be something from the Sunnah, but you don't necessarily agree with it, right? And I'm gonna tell you something. Like some Muslims, they don't like the marriage process, and they getting married. They dislike it. Some of them hate it. They'll go through it, but this is why some will rather fall into fornications and different things like that. But this stuff comes from the Quran and Sunnah. There's a lot of things that the Islam tell us that we can't do. The celebrating pagan holidays, the birthdays, the Father's Days, the Mother's Days, the Easters, all these different little things. We don't like that Islam tell us we can't do that. So we come up and say, hey, I'm going to do it anyway. Even when it comes to non-Muslims, we come up with ways to give non-Muslims the rights of Muslims when we've been informed through Quran and Sunnah not to do it. But then we sit up and tell ourselves, this make me a better Muslim. This comes from the Dawah. But you're going against Quran and Sunnah in your efforts. You see what I'm saying? So these things are nullifiers of Islam. And like I say, the list can go on and on. Being a Muslim and a Mujrimun at the same time, saying it's permissible. Because what you involved in, your heart has more attachment to that than it does to Islam. And that's why you can't leave it. And see, like, case in point, and I'll always talk about it, the mixture of gangs and Islam. The gang part is so embedded in their heart, they can't leave it. Oh man, I can't leave the homies on stuck. You just gonna disobey the orders and command of Quran and Sunnah? They had to leave tribal stuff. You see what I'm saying? And see, like, one thing that I have privy to that some people don't, I was in the gang that had Islam mixed in it. So I recognize it. So the other individuals who wasn't in that gang, they don't recognize that other version of Islam. So to them, anybody that say Assalamu alaikum is a Muslim to them. Or if they reply back, you don't know. There's a lot of people who like Hebrew Israelites, and they feel like they the Hebrews, but they'll go to other people and say Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, peace God, peace to the gods on earth. Whatever little section of this and that, they'll say Islam to the Moorish Americans. Whatever little greetings of anything is, they greet them back. So we think anybody, if we say Assalamu alaikum to somebody and they say it back, we automatically giving them a Muslim tag, regardless of their behavior, regardless of how they act. Like, even with my mom, I don't use the Bible to prove stuff to Muslims, but like with my mom one time, we was over there, and it's this dude who do a lot of work for him who love the Bible. He's a Hebrew Israelite. So one time, we was having a discussion about the term Assalamu alaikum. I understand that it's a dua. I know it's more than just a greeting. I know it's a dua. So I'm saying to him, according to your book that you love, when Jesus came to people and departed for them, in that book, what did he say to them? So now he going through their head, and he said, peace be unto you, right? So then I go bust his book open and show him, according to his book, they said that Jesus said that, right? We don't know if that was added after Islam or not. He was like, yeah, peace be unto you. I said, now what does Assalamu alaikum mean? He was like, peace be unto you. I said, so according to your book, Jesus used to say Assalamu alaikum, but you have a problem with it. So some who say that, they'll say it. So from my mom hearing that, my mom always greet me with peace be unto you. Now, am I going to automatically give her a Muslim tag and Muslim rights? No. But I will give her the rights of my mother. You know what I'm saying? Now, do I think it's beautiful that she's saying that to me? Like, yeah, alhamdulillah, my mama saying peace be unto you. No, because she's saying it from, this is a part of Christianity. Almost like Christianity came like, y'all stole that from us, type of a thing. But I greet her back. I say, hey, peace be unto you too. You know what I'm saying? Because some of us don't realize, you know what I'm saying? But some of this stuff, man, is due to, and see, like the gang culture. Like, I'm telling you, when we was in the gang culture, it would be nothing for us to be in a club, to be in a bar with a girlfriend, smoking and drinking and see each other, got a fifth, got something to drink like this. Man, salam alaikum. Shake up the little gang stuff. Had a bottle. You want some of this? Bless the thing on the bottle. Alhamdulillah. What we call blessing the bottle with the gang signs. And then we drinking and smoking. Because I recognize the gang. This was from the gang. See, one thing about when you join the gang, you don't take your Shahada. So like some of these people, you do this and now you get to convincing yourself, oh man, I'm surrounded by a bunch of Muslims. Now you most likely surrounded by gang members. All you have to do, this is when you're in Illinois, go up to them and ask them, hey, how you say the Shahada? Because when we joined the gang, there was no taking no Shahada. You in this gang, we believe in Allah, therefore we Muslims, we don't eat pork, and we bless the 5th day of the week, which is Friday. And that was the extent of it. We call God Allah, And then, of course, the little sayings, of course, your assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuhs, your alhamdulillahs, your little sayings like that. But my point in going through this is, I recognize the gang part. See, in reality, some of these people didn't. So you may be a person who joined Islam, became a Muslim for the purposes of the religion. Some people Muslim because it's a part of their gang. They didn't take no Shahada. I know some of these cats, man, that's been Muslim, referring to themselves as Muslims for years, but they joined the gang and the Islam came. They didn't take their Shahada. Some of them been Muslim 20, 30 years and never stepped foot in a masjid. And then some of them try to ease out of the gang life or wasn't really in the streets like that and started going to the masjids for Jumu'ah prayer, because they used to, at a point in time in prison, it was forced up on them. So, some of them keep up with it. But my point is, you have to deal with people a certain type of way, and some people don't like it, what Islam tells them. And these is nullifiers of Islam. So when you see the origins, and this is how you keep Islam strong. You know what I'm saying? Look, another one, 6, those who ridicule anything that Islam came with, such as a punishment or a reward in the hereafter, they disbelievers. See, these things, and it's flat out saying they are disbelievers. Now, even in this book, you can see down here where it got a little delil, and it's bringing it in Arabic where these things is coming from, right? This is with delil, not with full details, right? So, like, even with this little Quran ayat for what it's saying, right? Let me give y'all a little delil for 6 and 5. 4 and 5. To believe that the Prophet's guidance is not complete or perfect, or that others people's rulings and judgment is better than his. Sometimes you put down Quran and Sunnah for what somebody else put in place. And when you hear the original Quran and Sunnah, we have issues with it. We even going as far as saying, this is how black people do it. This nullifies Islam. 5, those who hate anything that the Rasul came with are also disbelievers, even if they act upon it. The Quran says that is because they hate that which Allah sent down, so He has made their deeds fruitless. Number 6, those who ridicule anything that Islam came with, right? Such as punishments and rewards in the hereafter are disbelievers. Mixing Islam with gang banging is making a mockery of the deen when you putting the gang first. You ridiculing Islam. Going around, just imagine, man, you seeing somebody sitting up eating a fat pork rib greasy barbecue sandwich with some beer in a blunt, and you say assalamu alaikum to them. And then they say wa alaikum salam back to you, and you call that Islam. Man, that's ridiculing the deen. But then, because we have issues with how we supposed to deal with certain people, we want to do what we want to do and call it Islam, and that's not facts. So what it says is, when it comes to the Quran ayat about that, say, what was it at Allah and His signs and His messengers that you were mocking? Make no excuses. You have rejected faith after you have accepted it. So, even number 8, to take the disbelievers for friends, giving them support and assistance against the Muslims, is an act of kufr. The Quran says, and he amongst you that turns to them for befriending is of them. Verily, Allah God is not a people who is unjust. Now, it's not saying non-Muslims you can't be cordial with them or do this and that and these type of things, but we giving them Islamic rights, and then they make mockeries of it. You see what I'm saying? Even to the point that because our gang used to say Assalamu alaikum, and we used to say it to some of the other non-Muslims, and it reminded me of a hadith that I came across. It reminded me of a hadith. I didn't know about the hadith, but it came later. But because we used to say Assalamu alaikum, they would walk around and greet people and say, I'll slam you in the lake, or Assalami and bacon. Assalami and bacon. You know what I'm saying? To make a mockery and a ridicule of Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Assalami and bacon. Or I'll slam you in the lake. But, you know, I'm going through this, man, because like I said, man, and I'm just giving a couple examples, but as you go out through your travels, you will start to see, when you start to dig into the Quran and the Sunnah, the authentic Sunnah, and you talk to people and you point things out, they're going to have issues with it. They're going to have issues with it, because especially if they have issues with their desires, where Shaitan is inflating the wrong type of love within them for what's not from the deen, but what they telling themselves is from the deen, and a hate for what comes from the deen, because they argue and debate it. Because they argue and debate it. Like right now, even to the point that individuals have a hate for praying the right direction, praying at the right times. So they got to go come up with all type of other stuff to discredit that. These things nullify your Islam, and there's dalil for it. So some things, man, individuals need to know, and these two things I have ijazahs at. I could get into more details, but this is just something I wanted to keep brief. It would have a little longer than I wanted it to, because I like to give examples of real life scenarios and situations where people don't understand, man. You're doing things that go against, you're creating bid'ahs. Some of us creating bid'ahs ourselves and calling it Islam. And then we rejecting, that's the bad part. When there's something legislated that we supposed to be doing and we argue and debate it, you nullify your Islam. There's no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. All the way to the point where some individuals who have discussions with, about nullifying their Islam. Hey man, that's y'all nullifying Islam, man. Y'all still fooling with pagan holidays. You doing Valentine's. You doing this and that. You all in like Muslims. And I ain't gonna knock them, but Muslims going in bars, being amongst the najis, talking about they having date nights. You know, around a bunch of people drinking and smoking and fornicating and naked women, half-dressed men. You know, it's just a whole lot of stuff, man, like places Muslims ain't even got no business at. But because we tell ourselves in Islam, nah, yani, you nullify your Islam. But you have a problem with those legislations in the deen. So now you coming up with something else. What the Rasul came with was perfect. The guidance that Allah sent down to the Rasul and he gave us is perfect. It's perfect. And we have issues with it. We hate it. We don't like it. But we don't understand when we come up with our own stuff, we gonna celebrate birthdays. Hey, I love my mama, I love my daddy. It ain't no way I ain't gonna tell them happy birthday. It ain't no way I ain't gonna tell them Merry Christmas. It ain't no way I ain't telling them Happy Father's Day, Mother's Day. I can't see not doing something for my kids. You know what I'm saying? But they might argue with a sister who not covered. You celebrating pagan holidays. You going out to eat and having dinners for birthdays and all that. but instead treating the Friday like that type, like a Eid. Go out to eat on Fridays. Get somebody a gift on Friday after Juma. Go out to eat on the Eids. You know what I'm saying? Get each other gifts on the Eids. Nah, that's not sufficient. You know what I'm saying? Give somebody a gift, man, in Islam because you love them, not because you did something wrong, not because you're trying to get back in your wife's good graces or your husband's good graces. This is what Islam comes with. But we got too much kufa in our Aqidah. And some of us who came from that gang version of Islam, and us who know it, who out here, we know good and well when we joined that gang, we didn't take no Shahada. There's very little talk about the Prophet Muhammad. So in that, we really taught to reject the ways of the Rasul. So then some of us who transition over and leave the gang alone and accept Islam, we accept Prophet Muhammad as a prophet, but we don't follow none of his sunnahs. We still in the clubs. We still out there. You know what I'm saying? And man, but although this is getting too long, and I'm finna end it because I gotta handle my business, but these things nullify your Islam. And what is mean by nullifying your Islam, you invalidating your actions. This is, when it's Islam, you replace it with Shahada. You going against the contract that you made when you took Shahada, your allegiance to Allah and His Messenger. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah Azza wa Jal, wa Rasulallah, wa Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You're going against the legislations of your Shahada. And for the people who say, like I said, who I had conversations with, oh, those nullifiers wasn't around, that's just some new scholar stuff from woo out the woo. That's because you don't read hadiths. Where the Rasul say, anybody who do this, they not of us. They not from us. You could call yourself a Muslim. Now, and this don't even tie into if you're doing some of the other things that could take you completely out the fold, shirks and all type of other stuff. But anyway, man, I just wanted to touch on that, man, because a little, while I was working out, man, some things came to my mind, man, and hold tight to your Shahada about the basics, how we need to become firm on the basics of Islam, man. Number one, hold on to that Shahada. You can't nullify your deen. You invalidating your Shahada. You invalidating your Islam. Yeah, you accepted Islam, you're a Muslim, but you're invalidating it. And it's all type of proofs from the Quran. It's all type of numerous amounts of hadiths that speak on it. Numerous amounts. But because we don't read them, and everything that a lot of our deen is from people who just be talking, and because we look at them as the big homie from the gang, or the one who came and in prison he was this and that, we start thinking that stuff is knowledge, when a lot of it really be batil. And then when somebody sit up and say, one of the things I want to inform people this too, when you growing in your deen, don't let people try to put you down or try to discredit you because the way it make them feel. See, the same individuals who look at you and say to you, I want the same kind of peace that you have. Man, I don't read books and study like that. But they want to be like that. Be the exact same ones that'll turn around and say, you think you better, when you really don't. Because in situations where they doing things and weakening and watering down the Islam and putting people up on deviation and bid'ahs and nullifying people's Islam, and you happen to be a witness of it, and you say, hey, look, here go the Dalil, man, that right there, what you doing, that nullifies your Islam. They got to come up with a way to reject it. Why? Because they hate that there's nullifiers of Islam. which is what? A nullifier Islam. You hating what the Rasul came with. You hating what Allah Azza wa Jal sent down. If we can't celebrate and acknowledge pagan holidays, and people don't like that and continue to do it, you nullify your Islam. If you want to keep being involved in these type of things, man, hey man, you nullify your Islam, man. But you still carrying the name tag of a Muslim. Man, let me get up out of here, man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.